Wacom Intuos Pro editing tablet. We are going to be wearing our blue light blocking glasses so that I don't burn my eyes out while we're doing this. And we're going to be breaking down everything we're doing to create this cover, and you get to help me while we're live on air. So start coming up with title ideas, start coming up with tagline ideas. If you want to see certain colors featured, or if you want to you got some ideas, feel free to shout those out. We're going to jump in and we are going to create together today. I'm super excited for this one, and I'm really excited because I like creating wings. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up our model. I'm excited for this one because apparently I'm excited about everything today. I'm really excited for her because we don't have to see a face in this one. This one is going to be very, very could be anybody. So I just used my quick selection tool, and I actually used the rectangular selection tool as well to kind of grab that place where she's sitting, because I couldn't find a ledge that I really, really liked. So I'm actually going to build that out a little bit, and I am going to just kind of create this here. You can see we definitely have some refining that we have to do on our model because we definitely have that kind of shattered edge. So let me go ahead and we're actually going to do our refining first. Then we are going to go ahead and we are going to build out the ledge she's sitting on. Then we're going to put her behind this in front of this really cool cityscape. We're going to give her wings. We're going to do all the cool things for this. But first we want to refine that edge. So we always want to make sure that we go in with a hard round brush on 100% opacity, black, and we're just going to kind of go over where that natural line is. So with our t-shirt, we're obviously going to get some bumps there, but those were definitely on the pixelated side of things. So we're just going to refine this. We're going to go back in. We're going to add some hair in later on. And of course, we also have the wings that we're going to be adding onto her back. So I'm not super worried about her hair right there, but I'm just toggling back and forth between the white and the black paintbrush. We are using a layer mask on this, so that is a non-destructive way of editing this. Whereas an eraser would just get rid of it and you can't get it back. So we are just using that layer mask and toggling between the white and the black paintbrush. Black takes it off, white paints it on, and we're just refining the edge. I'm not super worried about refining the edge just yet. I just want the basics on this one because we're going to be putting a rather busy background on there, and that will need to change some of my model as we are going through this. So I am just coming up and refining this edge just a little bit, not too much, especially because we are going to have some lighting effects wrapped around this. Danielle, thanks for joining. Appreciate you guys being here. Start thinking of good titles for this one. We're giving her wings. It's going to be an urban fantasy type story here, and we are just refining some of our edges. Now, I do like how this is going to be. I'm going to actually duplicate this, and I'm going to convert this to a smart object. And then I'm going to grab my rectangular selection tool, and I'm just going to grab everything right up from the edge to almost her toe. I'm just going to copy that. I am going to remove the layer that I put on there. I'm going to move this back to scale out so we can see. And then I'm just going to build out this frame. So you can see how it already starts to fit in here. It's not against the bottom edge, so I'm going to have to change that momentarily. And I may actually raise her up as well. So we'll see in just a minute how that's going to work. But I do want to put a white layer mask over there. And I'm going to grab my brush on 100% opacity. It's a soft round brush. And I am just getting rid of part of that. You can now see the line, so I'm going to have to back that over. But all of a sudden, it starts to mesh up a little bit better. And I'm just going to duplicate that and drag that further down until we have a wall that goes across the entire thing. Now, of course, this could change as we are going, but for now, this is a pretty good start to this. And then I'm just going to do the same thing over here, and I'm just going to blend this in just a little bit right here. And there we go. So now we kind of have a ledge for her to sit on. Now we need to add in the background, and then we're going to start adding in the wings. So in fact, let's do the wings next. Wings are going to be kind of fun, because when it comes to these wings, we are taking them from a bird. So I am going to go ahead. I'm going to actually duplicate this image because I'm going to use 2 sets of the wings here. So I'm going to turn off the first one, and I'm just going to use my quick selection tool and select those wings. As you can see, it kind of goes off on some of the green here. So I'm just going to use the reverse of my quick. It didn't like me. Usually you can use the reverse of that. So you would hold down the option button and it pulls up the negative side of things, but it's picking up the wrong thing. So I am just holding down the option button and I'm using my lasso tool and I'm just roping out any of that greenish water in the background, just grabbing the parts that I want, making sure that tree branches out of there. And I'm just very casually going over this because I'm going to have to fix it later anyway. So anywhere where I see there's like big gaps of green, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that. It doesn't have to be exact because they are feathers. Feathers can be a little bit different, and they don't have to be necessarily exact when you're cutting them out. So we've got the first one here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to lasso just a little bit of the bird's chest because that could be a good place for me to mount it if I need to. So we've got the one wing. We're going to need to refine that. I'm going to pull up the other one because I do want to grab that second wing. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, oh, that picked that up pretty nicely. There's just a little bit I want to get rid of. I am going to flip this horizontally and rotate it a little bit when I am done cutting this baby out. This is going to be the back side of the wing. Okay, so now we've got two sets of wings and we've got our girl. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to turn my wings back on and I'm going to turn my girl back on. And at this point, we are going to add in some fun wings. So I'm going to have to obviously shrink down these wings a little bit, but I don't want to go too much. And I am going to want to do one wing and then adjust the other one. So I have to see where I want these to fit. If I wanted to go above or below her, I could kind of move it on there. I almost wonder, I want it to be nice and big, but I don't know if I want to cut that off. Let me see if I can change my angle a little bit. Oh, that's not bad. Sometimes you just have to play and see which is going to work best, which is going to look best for this. Let me go ahead. I'm going to work on the other wing real quick, just checking the placement on this one. This is obviously going to be on the back side. And you can kind of see how that's actually not bad. I might tip this just a little bit so that we can kind of see the different angles of that. We kind of like the highlighty there. Maybe I'll make this. Oh, because I actually have to flip it. That would be my problem. Let me go ahead and flip that real quick for us. We're going to flip it horizontally, and now we're going to attach it, and now we're going to be able to rotate it properly so that, there we go. That makes a lot more sense. So right now I'm just working on my angle. I know it is much too high, and just need to see where this needs to be located. Obviously, we are not going to attach it to like her head or anything, but we are going to just play with this until it actually fits. And I may have to, I may have to be okay with it not necessarily showing the lighter part of the wing. I did very much like how it showed the lighter part of the wing, so I could potentially, let me just duplicate this real fast and let me actually go ahead and flip that horizontally again, because I could do something like that so you can see part of it and then just remove that lower part. So if I were going to do something like this, I would just erase the back end there so you could kind of see some of that. But I think I am going to go with more along the lines of something like that there. And I'm just tipping it until I get it where I like it. I may have to warp this a little bit to get this to fit better. Which is also something you can do, like you have the ability to warp, like actually warp things. The other thing is, if I wanted to do something like that, it is covering the back end of it, so I could duplicate it, bring it down so I can see the feathers on the bottom side, and then just paint away anything on the top level that blocks that. So there we go. We just built in new wings. I like that a lot better. So I'm going to go back up to this top wing here. And now I need to start blending this in because obviously that dark color is not going to work with that light color. So let me come right in nice and close. And I am going to start blending this in. And of course, we are going to have to work on that line just a little bit. So I am going to start, actually, I am going to duplicate it just in case something happens. And I am going to at that point be able to kind of start to fade this in a little bit more. I may use this hairline here to blend this in. Yeah, that's what I like. Okay, so we can see how there's a little gap of white right there, but I am taking off everything on this side of that hairline. And now with a soft round brush, 100% opacity, I am just painting this back in to remove the white. And then I'm going to, on a very low opacity, we're talking like 28% opacity on 1 pixel for my brush. I am just painting some of it over the hair. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to add hair to it. So then I am just kind of going over the edge of that, and I may actually need to switch over to a hard round brush and paint that off of her back. So we're just outlining where her shirt is going to be so that it's on that side of it. Now we definitely have to go back in and have to refine these feathers because it was not as nice of a cutout as it looked from being smaller. So we're just on a very low pixel size. This is about 6 pixels, but I'm going to go back in and refine it on the smaller brush. We are just painting off anything that we see green on. I am going to be toggling back and forth between the different sizes so that I can go in between the feathers and kind of take away some of this. Now we do have that light outline, and that's okay to leave in because we're definitely going to have some of that peeking through with the cityscape. We're going to be able to refine that better later on, but we're just making sure we remove any bits of the water that we didn't get before, and making sure that we get rid of everything that definitely does not belong there. And any refinements we need up at the top, we're definitely going to make sure that that is taken care of. So the shiny outline to that, we want to make sure that that goes in properly on there. So then at that point, I'm going to need to come down below and grab the wings that have a little bit of green still in there from the underside of that. So her back set of wings, we're just going to come in and we're going to refine that just a little bit. You can kind of see where all of that is. And then at that point, we are going to then have to blend in those wings with hair. And I can see already that I have a little bit of her hand that I need to fix up here because I didn't go in far enough when we were doing that. So I'm just going to add back in pieces of her hand to make that nice and smooth. And you can kind of see how that's starting to fit already. Just refine her hair just a little bit up here. And then we'll be adding in her hair in just a little bit. If you are joining me, we are going to have to come up with a title for this. So I'm going to need your help on this one. Start coming up with ideas for our Winged Girl title for this pre-made cover, which, by the way, you can grab right now while I'm on air for only $100. After I go off air, we are going back to normal price. This is going to be like to $5,300-ish, and I am going to just adjust this. So we've got a cityscape here somewhere, and I'm just playing to see where I like this. That's okay. And then I'm going to extend my city just a little bit. I can do that by kind of adding in some buildings here. I may actually go ahead and put my layer mask on, and I'm going to start just cutting out some of these buildings that I don't want necessarily this building right here because it's only half a building. So I would get rid of some of that and probably put that on right there. And I may actually drag this down below here. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a layer mask to the other one. And on a soft round brush, I am going to brush some of this off to make it blend a little bit more. If you're just jumping on, we are creating a book cover live on air, and I'm looking for title ideas for this baby. So if you've got a title idea, now is a great time. We've got a winged model that we are, there we go. A winged model that we are putting in this cityscape. What is happening here? I think I took part of that off, I think is my problem. There we go. There we go. So you can kind of see we've just extended this city line here. Now we're going to play with some lighting. Then we're going to play with getting this to where it needs to be in terms of coloring. So I'm very excited for this one. I am going to go ahead and I am going to darken up my city because I definitely want those deep, intense colors. When it comes to this, we're kind of going for like a sunrisey, sunsetty type thing. Our very, very sad little angel girl, little winged girl sitting here. I'm so excited for this one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take all of my layers that my bird girl is connected to. I'm going to put them in one folder. I'm going to label that girl. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a brightness and contrast panel and use a clipping mask to attach that directly to her. At which point we are going to go ahead and we're going to play with some of this lighting. So all of a sudden, this comes together much, much better. We're going to play with a curves panel. We actually might do that right now. Oh, yes, we might. Yes, we might. We're going to bring in a curves panel right now. This is a really great way to tie together backgrounds and foregrounds. So right now, she actually fits very well with this coloring, but we might want to tint it just a little bit. So I went into RGB, I went to the blue panel, and now I'm just going to be able to slide this either to the blue side of things or to the yellow side of things. And we can, of course, kind of put our anchor points and we can pull things up and down. I'm just making it a touch more yellow. And then you can kind of see the difference there. It ties it together just a little bit, which I'm pretty excited about. This is turning out really cool. All I'm saying, friends, all I'm saying. At this point, I'm going to need to extend that bottom line just a little bit. So right under my girl, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to use my color picker tool and I'm going to grab, actually, I'm going to have to turn off my frame there. There we go. I'm going to pick that one, turn my frame back on. And I am just going to use a brush to paint the bottom because I didn't do it low enough when we were creating it. So that just, there we go. That just makes it look like she's sitting on a ledge here, which is pretty cool. We could actually add some depth in there if we wanted some stuff in the foreground, plants and things. I kind of want to add some feathers to this. I do, but we got to get our title on here first. We're maybe going to put some stars in the sky. You know how like early morning when things are just getting started, every once in a while you see like a very bright star in the sky. Even though night is gone and the sun is rising, I might add one or two of those, just like those anchor stars, I'm going to call them, right in there. So I'm just going down looking for my flare brush right now, which I know you guys can't see, but I am going to grab my round flare brush, 100% opacity white, and I'm just going to tap that in a couple of places. Can't really put them in the clouds, as nice as that would be, because clouds are definitely going to be in the foreground, but you can kind of see how now we've got a couple of those in there. That looks pretty cool. I'm going to put one over here too. Maybe one down here. There we go. Okay, that's pretty cool. I can then actually, if I want to, go in and I can grab my layer style down to outer glow. And I can just grab a color. I'm going to go with probably like a yellowy tone maybe. No, I'm not. There we go. That's better. It's like an orangey tone. You can turn it up. You can turn it down. And we're just going to leave that be. But you can kind of see how it has the glowy effect there. Okay, so now at this point, I need to get my title in. Then I'm going to work on getting in the lighting effects. I'm so excited for this one. I am going to go ahead and I am going to save this. I think I saved this as a new file, but I'm just going to double check with a change number there. And I am going to then add in our title. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually going to duplicate my fancy hookline thing over here. And I am going to call this Above the City. And I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. I think I'm going to have to tone down that drop shadow in the back. So I'm going to actually pull this in a little bit, make it nice and tighter. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use a different line for every single one of our letters. And sometimes we're going to, yes, we're going to change some of these to capital just so that it fits a little bit better. And I actually don't want that over the building, but I am going to create my title layout first, and then I'm going to arrange where I want that to sit. Sometimes the kerneling between the letters is really weird on certain fonts, so you're just going to hold that Option in between those letters and just hit the arrow buttons, and it's going to space that out properly. And I actually think I really like color toning of this. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to group this together in a folder, and I'm going to move this up. Maybe I do want it over the building a little bit because I kind of want to leave those stars where it is. Oh, the city. That works. I am going to go ahead and I am going to actually duplicate one of these words. I'm going to drag it outside of my folder. I'm going to drag it up, and I'm going to write author name in there, and I'm going to make that a little bit smaller and put that right there. It is near that star so that it helps it to stand out without necessarily having to flare that one. Danielle, this looks pretty cool. I'm liking how this is looking. I am liking this. I think I may want to go in and add a little bit of flare to one of these. So I'm going to grab one of my flare brushes, and I'm just going to take one of my letters and just tap that on 100%. I'm going to go up. I'm going to use my layer style down to outer glow. And I am just going to pick a color, probably like a brightish blue color. I almost wonder, maybe I do want to do like a gold type. No, I don't. I might want to do like a bluish. I'm just playing with it at this point to see what I'm going to like. Let me pull this up. I definitely want to go more toward the blue base as opposed to the green base, and just playing with the opacity at this point. And I can move this around so that it's fitting on the proper places for this. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller over here. And there we go. Oh, man, you guys. Hold up your hand like this and just block that out so you can just see the main part of this cover. How cool does that look? When I did that, I realized that my author name needs to be centered a little bit better. There we go. We got it. And then at this point, I am totally considering adding in feathers to this one. I think that would be really cool, but I don't have them on hand, so that's something I'm going to have to do. As we work on this, I can add in some smoke if I wanted to. I can add in some flare. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on some of our lighting for this one, which I'm very excited for because this is going to look really, really pretty. So I'm going to go down beneath my words, and I am just going to, right above my curves layer, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start working this in. Doesn't this look nice, Danielle? I'm excited for this one. I'm just looking for kind of like a whiter based light, maybe a little bit of blue. And I am just going to kind of work with my colors within what I've got. So I'm just looking for flares right now. That one, that could potentially work. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screen that. It's going to have those really harsh lines, but I am going to be able to soften those by going up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then I'm just going to bump this up until it's more of a soft look right there. Then at that point, I can then move this around. I can put it at different places. It can be shining out from wherever, and just wherever that light's going to touch. But we don't have a lot of light coming through here. We do have those highlights on her wings, so we can actually have things coming through on different sides if we want. This is not working for me. It might be because it's too big. It might be because there's no light actually coming from this. We may actually have to ignore this. This could be something that we don't necessarily need on this one. Or I could go very harsh with those orangey tone lights. That could potentially work there. I'm just kind of looking to see where this might fit in properly. Sometimes you just have to pause and think, is this going to work, or is this something that we actually don't want? It's maybe something we actually don't want. I'm just going to duplicate this real fast. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm actually going to drag it below her. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that we've got some light coming around her. And then just bring that up, bring it around, see where maybe this might fit in. Just kind of warping this around her just a little bit to make her stand out. Y'all, I might not need this. This might not be something that I actually want or need on this. I don't usually say no to light, but I think I'm going to say no to light on this one. So at that point, I'm just seeing what I need to clean up, where I need to go. I'm going to come back up over the top, and I'm going to add a brightness and contrast panel, and I'm going to bump up my contrast a bit. Wow, apparently a lot. Look at that. Look how far I can push that. Guys. Look at how far I can push that. That's hello. I'm liking that. Look at that. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in that. That's pretty dang cool. I'm going to tone it down just a tiny bit. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. I'm going to, while we're on air, I don't usually do this because I don't like to spend time doing something like this, but I am real quick going to look for a feather to see if I've got a feather just off the top of my pile here somewhere that I can actually use to do this. So I'm just real quick glancing to see what I have available in terms of those darker feathers. I know I have light feathers. I know I've got black feathers. I'm just trying to see if I've got like a brown feather. Oh, I could potentially work with that. Let me just real quick, just going through this a little bit right here to see what I have access to just off of the top of that. We're going to do that. So at this point, I am going to download this real fast in a couple of different angles so that I've got some feathers, but I do have brown feathers that I can be using for this. So let me go ahead and move that out of the way real quick. I'm just going to change my angle. And I'm going to download this one real fast. These are actually some really cool 3D elements that I have the ability to use and access for this particular thing that we're doing. And I'm just swirling this just a tiny little bit. And I'm going to duplicate these. I have to take it out of the inkwell. You guys saw the inkwell that it was in. It is going to be there in just a second, as I was totally unprepared for the feathers because I didn't think I would need the feathers because I thought I was doing all the cool light things, but I'm not. I'm doing all the cool feather things. So it's downloading, and here we have it. So let me go ahead and let me pull this baby in. Nope, not what I wanted to do. I'm going to pull this baby in over here, and I'm going to say yes. And at that point, I'm just going to grab my quick selection tool, and I'm removing the inkwell there. I'm just going to leave that there. We're going to call this 1. I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm going to drag this up. We're going to go ahead and we are going to apparently do the exact same thing. Not what I wanted. Thank you very much. Let me get rid of that one because I did that. And then I can grab this one and say yes to that. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to grab that and outline that. We're going to call that 2. And we are going to get rid of that one because we did this one already. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this one. We're going to toss this baby in here. We are going to have to color correct these in just a second. So with the color correction, we are going to be making these much more of a yellow type feather so that it matches. We're going to color tone it better. We just are. And then we're going to go ahead and we're just layer masking these so that these are nice and easy to use. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn these things into a smart object. I think one of them still has part of the glass on it. It's that one. Yes, it is. I'm going to grab my layer brush. I am on a hard round brush with 100% opacity, and I am just getting rid of the glass piece where it shouldn't have picked that up. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and convert that to a smart object. I'm converting all of these to smart objects so that they're easy for me to use. And at that point, I am going to do this nifty little trick. So I am actually going to take these feathers and I am going to set them the way that I want them And then I'm going to group them into one single folder. And then I'm going to color tone those. So I don't have to do each individual one. It saves me time and effort, and it's really nice. It's really nice to do in one easy step. And we're just going to go ahead and place these different places on the cover. So then I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to move them in different angles. I also have the ability to, if I want, I can warp these. So I can take that and I can actually go into warp, at which point I would just maybe move some of this, move this down a little bit, and kind of angle it like that. So you can kind of see how we're just kind of doing some copy and pasting of these things. And we're just going to put them in different locations. And then I might even, this is actually a really nice one, I do like that, I might make this a little bit bigger and kind of have things floating in the air, at which point if it's closer up, we're going to have to go into filter blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to have to make it out of focus because anything up close in the foreground is definitely, for sure, going to be more blurry than anything in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate that one. And maybe I want this to stick out here a little bit. We're going to add that same Gaussian blur to that because it's on the same level as the other one. I think I want to do something big up here. So let me go ahead and let me grab this one. And we're going to Gaussian blur that baby as well. Ooh, and I can kind of see I do need to actually remove part of that because it did have a little bit of that glass in there, and that's something I'm going to have to do on the other one as well. So just real quick adding that in there. And you can see we've got some really cool feathers. I think I want just something coming up here, and then I'm going to do it on the other side as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to duplicate that blurred one that we just, nope. I'm going to duplicate the one that we just blurred, and I'm going to move that over here. And as I'm repositioning this, it will, of course, change the Gaussian blur filter that is over it. And we're just going to copy another one. I'm going to rotate this baby. We're going to pull this one up here so we get parts of those feathers. That's actually a little bit of a harsh line at this particular angle, so I might come in and I might just do that like that. In fact, I may actually want to use not a hard round brush, a soft round brush, so that it kind of blends a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to just kind of add in some feathers back here somewhere. I might put some on the spine as well. And of course I could do these as other layers as well if I wanted to. Or at other angles so that they have those different compositions, but you know we can always change things as well inside of our warp tool, which is pretty nice. And maybe we're going to go ahead and grab another one of those, and we'll just kind of put that right there. So we've got some on this spine as well. Might add a little something right down here. So let me go ahead and grab, let's try this one. Trying to do different things at different locations. There we go. Oh my gosh, you guys, how cool does this look? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to then grab all my feathers, every single feather that I have just added in here. I'm going to group those all into one single folder, and I'm going to name them feathers, if I can grab the right part on this. Feathers, and now we have to actually do our coloring. So I'm going to grab a brightness and contrast panel. I am going to add a clipping mask to that one. Okay, I'm going to bump up the contrast a lot. I'm going to bump up the brightness a lot. I actually think I may need to duplicate that. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit better. I'm going to bring down that and maybe reduce some of the opacity. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my curves panel. We're going to go very yellow on this one. Use a clipping mask again, down to the blue. And we're just going to slide until it is yellowy. And I may even group all that together, duplicate that, and then grab a multiply layer and back off my opacity on that one. And I may just grab another curves panel and add in just a touch more yellow. Okay, liking this, liking this. At this point, I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually going to put all of my feathers into one nested layer. And I think I want to bring this down because I think I know part of my problem is that I actually want it to be down below. Nope, not what I wanted. Not what I wanted. But I do see that I have a star that's now out of place. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just tighten this up a little bit. There we go. I have a brightness and contrast panel over everything again, and I'm just sliding up that contrast a little bit. There we go. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to add in a new blank layer, and I'm just going to grab my flare just because I took away the star. I'm going to add in a star there, maybe a star there. Too many stars. Well, it could be an is what it is situation. Close enough. We're going to call it. Okay. So then at that point, I am going to need to find my title. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab my title folder, which I didn't label. Now I'm going to label it, and I'm just going to duplicate it. I am going to edit down to transform, down to 90 degrees clockwise, and I am going to make that smaller and bring that right on over to my spine. And because it's behind the feathers, I'm actually going to drag it up higher so that it does go on top of that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my author name, I'm going to duplicate that and rotate that. So it's edit, transform, rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Going to make that a little bit smaller. And we're going to add that right in here. Obviously, spine will be different. Spine will change based on what size the spine is when someone purchases this, but we've got it there. We can make this stand out a little bit more by darkening up our drop shadow, or we can add in some lighter coloring behind it. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to ease into that to make that stand out a little bit more, and we are good to go. The only thing I have left that I need to do is to come down right below my word layers, and I'm just going to grab my gradient tool. I'm going to make sure it's transparent or color over transparent. I'm going to make sure it's black, and we're just going to put a little bit of a line down toward the bottom, but I definitely want some up toward the top to pull that in. And I actually might, on top of my feather layer, I am going to go ahead and I am going to add in a layer, which I'm going to do on a clipping mask, and I'm going to do the same thing so that it pulls that together as well. And at that point, we are good to go with our book cover. I'm going to actually, that was a little harsh on the top, so I just want to come back down. This is my top, and I'm just going to lower the opacity on that just a tiny bit. Now it pulls it together, and I am good to go. So there you have it. That is our brand new cover that we have created together. If you want more information on this, you are now out of time to buy this while we're on air for only $100. So you can actually now go over to coveraday.com. This will be listed in just a few minutes. You'll be able to get it at normal price. And let me know, what kind of cover do you want to see me create next week? Should we do dystopia? Should we do urban fantasy? Should we do a princess cover? Should we do something with retellings? Should we do like a shifter cover? Should we do paranormal romance? Should I do couples? Should I do a contemporary? I don't usually do contemporary, but hey, we can do it on air for you if that is what you want. There are some over on coveraday.com that you can be checking out. And we will create a cover every single week. Next week, we are shifting over to 3 p.m. Eastern instead of 11 a.m. We've got some really cool things going on, so I hope you will join me. It's going to be lots and lots of fun. Thank you for your input today and all of your kind words in the comments. I appreciate you being here on our YouTube page and inside of our secret cover group for you fabulous authors and publishers. I will see you again next week. Let me know, what are we creating on air?